Buddy Scoutcrafter here again. You have to excuse me. I picked up a little bit of a cold. I'm trying to work my way through it. First, I want to make a quick shout out to Flamingo Frank, Bob Ferris, and the crew. I missed them at the show. I don't know how it happened. We got our times mixed up. And they were nice enough to show up, put up a little flamingo there. You know, that's what I miss about these days. You know, when I was a kid, we had old timers that would kind of make up nicknames for everybody. And that was always, everybody kind of had a nickname. You don't see that too much anymore. I remember at work, my buddy and I, we said, we got to come up with a nickname for some guys here. And I said, one nickname I always liked was Noodles. And I said, you just got to find the right guy to, you know, to name Noodles or nickname Noodles. I don't know why, but I always liked that nickname. Anyway, coming up with a nickname is like naming a pet, you know. You got to get, you know how some pets, you know, it just doesn't fit their name or they really do fit really well. And, you know, some pets have no imagination in their name, you know, if it's a... if it's an old black cat and the cat's name is Blackie, you know, I mean, it's just like, you know. But then there are certain ones that have a little bit of a backstory to the name. And speaking of which, there's a cat that, you know, we don't buy any cats or anything, right? Nobody buys a pet anymore, especially around here. But my family, we've always had this thing about stray animals finding us. And I have 3 cats that were strays, and 2 I saved from certain demise at work. We got them out of the pit where the bus was going to run them over and stuff. And little kittens, it's big enough that you could put in your pocket. Brought them home. So I have 3 cats. But recently I saw this little gray something running around the backyard, and I didn't know what it was, possum, or I feed the raccoon, the possum. But this was a cat, and it started to whimper, and I finally saw him. And this was a couple months ago, when he was this little scrawny little thing with a big head, looked like a bobblehead cat. And I named him Mughead because, you know, he looked like he had this big mug head on him. So he finally, after a few weeks of feeding him, you know, trying to get some food to him, and he accepted me as far as he, you know, showed himself to me. So little by little, I've been working diligently, feeding him twice a day, and I kind of built him up. He still will not let me get really near him, or pet him, but I'm working on it, and he's a good guy. I like this guy. And let me show you. This is I named him Muggy now because he's no longer a mughead. He's filling into his body. Check him out. Hey, Muggy. How you doing? Are you hungry? Look at you. Come here, buddy. Come on. I know. So that's Muggy, and I love that little guy. I don't know why. He really grew on me, and I think the reason I liked him so much is because even when he was so skinny and so starving, he got into my pigeon coop, and yet he wouldn't touch any of the pigeons. He just sat there, you know, and looked around and stayed there until I let him out. But he didn't injure or try and eat any of the pigeons. So he's got a good heart, and I'm gonna get him all beefed up, and then we'll see what happens this winter. Anyway, for today's project, couple of things I got to do down here. First thing is locks. You know, I'm into locks, so let me show you this interesting lock. My lock collection is padlocks, but here's a nice high quality Yale lock, and these were really, you know, like I said, they were very high quality locks back then, and they were very expensive back in the day. These would cost almost double what a normal lock would cost, like a master or something else that was less expensive. But people that bought these knew that they were buying a lifetime lock. But here's the problem with this one. You see here, when you take the key and you place it in, it don't work. You see what I mean? I mean, it turns, but it won't open up. And if you fidget around a little bit and pull on the shackle, you can get it to open. But it doesn't pop open on its own. And it doesn't really snap when you close it. So it needs a cleaning. Now, a lot of times people will say, you know, like, you know, lubricating locks, you should only use graphite or something because certain lubricants will attract dirt. You know, when you have a lock that's this old and things like this, the first thing you got to do is get it clean, get all that dirt and everything that's out of there. And you can see we got a little rust, you know, from where the the shackle was hanging on something. And here I clean this with a little steel wool and some light, like a lubricant. WD-40 is okay, or kerosene or something, just something to get here, but you don't want to get anything in the lock. And then we'll spray it with some cleaners. I'll show you how we do that. Okay, now we have the lock cleaned up. Look how beautiful that came out, huh? And again, on the soft wire brush and everything. And now what we're going to do is, and especially, here's the important part. All these little areas here, like in here, you use the wire brush and get in here. And then after you wire brush it, vacuum it out. Don't use a blower. To vacuum everything out to make sure any dirt in there. And now we're going to use some lubricants. Now these, you see them behind me a lot of times. This is a lock lubricant, but it's really a cleaner. So I like this Houdini. It's a specialty lock cleaner. So I use this to clean it out. And then after this, I usually go to this and make sure that get all the dirt out of there by spraying it in. Spray it in here, get all the dirt out, dry it off. And then when it is dry, I like to use the Tri-Flow. This stuff has Teflon in it. It's just so good and so smooth. And let's see if we can get that to work. Okay, we're calling this finished. We cleaned it out with the Houdini and then finished up with the Tri-Flow. I gotta tell you something, I love the smell of this too. It reminds me of the old Hops number 9, you know, that smell? You'll know what I'm talking about if it's a gun cleaning solution from years ago. I used to love that smell. Anyway, it's all finished here, and look how nice it works now. Put the key in like this, and look at that. Pops right out. Try it again, and look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just the way it should work. Just pops right out. Smooth as can be. You can see here what it says. It says the Super Pin Tumbler, lubricate with graphite. But the, like I said, you know, with all the dirt and everything, we had to get it out of there. From now on, we could lubricate it with graphite if we wanted to, especially in the cold weather or something like that. But it is a beautiful lock again and works like the day it was new. So, it's good for another 100 years. Next up, we got a nice little Ramset hammer I picked up, and it's in rough shape, but these are great hammers, and they are very collectible, but I like them. I always did. Let's check it out. Okay, here we go. Here's the Ramset hammer in question. Now, these were used for driving those 22 caliber stakes into the cement and stuff, and you can see here, it's in decent shape. There's really no chips or anything out of it. You know, it's been beat up. These were used on the job site a lot of times. It's a floating head in here. It's got like a, you know, the same way the hydraulic pistons are, and it's got a couple of O-rings in it that lets this float back and forth, and it's like almost like a dead blow, but it's a cool hammer. I've had a couple of these, but this one here it's a little bit on the rusted up side, but we can work with that. And this stick is going to have to go, but let's see what it says here. Sure drive job tipper, isolating or floating action hammer, and it's supposed to isolate the shock from the handle and things. But you know, believe it or not, all that junk, that mud and everything inside the handle is actually going to be probably the hardest part to get clean. But let's get working on this. Just as I feared, the biggest problem with this is going to get in each one of these holes. And here, you got one of these jeweler's screwdrivers. I'm going to have to, that's like caked in mud. I'm going to have to go in there with one of these jeweler's screwdrivers. You see what I'm doing here? Spin it around here and get each one of those cleaned out individually. See that? So, let's see. There's a few hundred over here. Yeah, it shouldn't take me too long. You got to get into the zone. Here we are at a post-wire brush evaluation, and how nice is this coming out, huh? These are beautiful hammers. I mean, I'm telling you, the weight, the balance of them, I know why they're collectible, but now we have to address some of the parts. I'm going to use this as a user hammer, so I'm not going to go over the top with it, but I still have to do the handle and everything, so let me get working on that. As you can see, it's coming along real nice, and we'll see how far we're going to take it. And what's nice is they all have serial numbers on here, so these were high-quality hammers. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this hammer looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. Very happy with the way this came out. As you could see, we took out all that caked mud in there with the screwdriver throughout the whole handle, and then coated it with that 50-50 mineral oil and petroleum jelly mix, my homebrew, and then did a little red on the insides where it used to be black. Colored in the letters here in red, and pretty much took it down. You know, not super polishy, but like I said, I want to use this one, so it's back in service. And nice little hammer. These really are good hammers. They have a nice. I tend to choke up a lot on hammers, so I don't like a real long hammer, and this is a perfect size. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Take care now. Have a nice day. Bye bye.